name is Becca, and I am really excited to talk with you today about core values or the way. And so, really, what are core values? We have our purpose or our mission, our vision, yet oftentimes we don't know the how. So, in today's environment, core values are more critical than ever because they are not just words on a wall or in a handbook, but your values are the compass that guides every decision, every action, and every interaction, steering you and your organization forward. So, today we are going to explore what core values are, why they're crucial to you and your organization, and how you can ensure they're not just words, but a powerful force that drives everything you do. So, by the end of this presentation, you'll understand how to keep your values alive and thriving. Please note that everything we're talking about today is transferable because our vision at Accompany Suite is to see healthier families and communities as a whole, starting with the workplace where most of us spend our time. So, just as I go throughout this, again, it could be just for you, it could be, within your organization or within your community as a whole. So we have been on this topic of stability. And the thing about stability is that it is different for everyone. It is about the strength to endure the many things you'll experience in life. And it is about finding the rhythm that you were meant to exist in. And core values, they are a foundational piece for you and your team, which is why it's not just important to have them, but to live them out every single day. And so, something that I love about this graphic that our social media coordinator, Michelle, put together is you see this person and they're walking on a bridge. And if you look at the pillars, you have culture and you have your core values. So, these again are foundational pieces. That bridge would not exist, would not be stable, would not be secure if it wasn't for these foundational pieces. Because as we know, in life, there are a lot of changes, there are challenges, there's wins, there's really all these good and challenging things. But at the end of the day, we need a really strong and stable foundation in order for us to be able to navigate all of those changes and endure it. Again, stability is the agility to endure change. Today, we are really honing in on this thing of core values. Within every organization, you need to have a clear direction because if you don't know where you're going, you'll never get there. So, again, we have mission, which is your purpose, why the business exists. We have the vision, which is the impact. Like, this is where do you see this company going and the impact along the way. And then we have core values, which is the way. So, these are typically 3 to 7 words that express our behavior that will guide us on how to accomplish that mission and vision. And the thing about core values is that it flows in and out of everything you do, especially like within decision making within the company. A lot of times, what I have found is that while companies are really good at establishing a mission or a vision statement, they're not quite sure how to walk it out and how to use it. When we think about this mission, vision, core values, these foundational pieces of a culture, what develops a culture is that it flows in and out of every area of business. So you have revenue generation, customer relationships, team development, supply chain, goals, strategy, right? Marketing, technology. So you have all of these different areas of business, but it needs to flow in and out of all of them. I have a question for you now, which is just by a show of hands. Do you have core values in your workplace? Raise your hand if you do. Okay. Now, raise your hand if you're just not sure if you do or you don't. Raise your hand if you don't. Okay. I love it. So, for those of you who do have core values in your workplace, are they defined? Thumbs up or thumbs down? Thumbs up if they are defined, thumbs down if they are not defined. Okay. So, without looking them up, what are your core values? Put them in the chat. So good. All right. Nice. And you put them in order too. I'm impressed. I love it. Okay, really cool. Let's talk about how to use core values. And listen, if you don't currently have them, or you're not sure what they are, or they're just not defined, that's okay because this gives you an opportunity to start thinking about it so we can start creating them. And so we are, I love that. That was really good. Sorry, reading the chat. But anyway, so this is just a place. So if you don't have them, I want you to put on the hat as if you're starting to create them. So I saw your chat and I love that you're already there. The thing with core values, they act as a lens through which every decision should be viewed. So before moving forward, I want you to ask yourself, does this align with our values? So if you're making a decision, if you are trying to figure out which path to take, ask yourself, does this align with our values? So, just like wearing the right pair of glasses brings clarity to your vision, using your core values ensures that every action, strategy, and interaction is crystal clear, consistent, and true to who you are. So, when you filter decisions through your values, you stay focused on what truly matters, avoiding distractions and staying true to your purpose. There are a lot of different ways that you can use your core values. Again, we have a few different lens. So let's just look at the lens of work just for a moment. With work, again, we establish these values. I see them and I've talked with people who have values, but often they're not enforced and they're just words. And they are just words unless they are relatable and defined. They shouldn't just be on a poster or on a random wall or stated on a job ad, but should be active and alive within your organization. So, some ways that you should be using core values at work, things like hiring, corrective behavior conversations, making decisions, and promotion discussions. I've seen this so many times where people will get, promoted within a company. However, they get promoted because they can do the job well. So again, if we are looking at core values through the lens of behavior and attitude and what we expect from our people, then we need to make sure that we are making hiring decisions not just based on the hard skills, but also through the lens of our core values. Does this person exemplify our core values? Because we know these core values is what is going to push our mission and vision forward. If you're having to have a corrective behavior conversation, discipline, correction, redirection, and conflict becomes much easier to face when you have a behavior or a core value to tie it to. People tend to get more defensive when they think it's personal than when it is, just about a core value. Um, so that is some examples for work. But the other thing here is we also have core values within family. When we can define what those core values are as a family, it could help with the guidelines for maybe how family members should behave. Again, making decisions. This also could be family traditions. So, depending on what these core values are, I've heard some people say, some families will have like a word of the year. So I don't know if any of you have ever done that, but that's usually them stating what their core value is. Maybe it's the one core value that they're going to focus on more than anything else on that year. But you know that if one of your words is intentionality for that year and that is a value, then it's how are you using that word and making it alive? So again, it's not just a word on a wall somewhere. We also have the lens of community. When we think of these core values, it translates through all of these different areas of life. alignment. Are you joining the right community? So for some of us, it might be church. For some of us, it might be volunteering. So if one of your core values is, serving and volunteering, making sure that you're volunteering with the right type of organization, or making sure you're volunteering if that's really important to you. But I want to really just emphasize this for a second because while companies are getting better at having and defining some core values, we need to first make sure that we've defined our individual values, because how do we know if how to make decisions and how to align ourselves with any of these other areas if we haven't first defined what our individual values are? And so for some of you, if you've never even thought of this concept before, therefore you haven't maybe attached a word or maybe a definition to it, I want this to just be a moment where you start to think about it. And if you're not quite sure, well, then I want you to think about these alarms. So, have you ever been in an environment where maybe you step into a place and all of a sudden, or maybe you're in conversation with someone and it is like this internal alarm is going off? It's kind of like this, watch out, red flag, something's not right here. I don't like this. If you have ever been in an environment like that, you need to pay attention to it because this could be a direct conflict of one of your values. And so, even if you think back to any of those moments that you have had this blaring alarm, red flag, whatever you want to call it, this maybe a negative or just a caution, then that's usually going to direct you to what is the thing that you value. So I'll tell you that I experienced a couple of years ago, where my dog was attacked and it was very scary. And so it started to, create these little alarms in me. And I realized pretty quickly, I value safety. I also value control, but I worked through that. But for me, I realized that it was safety, even for some of my friends who are adrenaline junkies and they love to do these crazy things. And then I love it that they love to do that, but when they ask me to do it, and then all of a sudden I have this red alarm going off, I'm like, "Uh-oh, that I'm about to be in conflict with one of my values." So again, we just have to pay attention to what these alarms are and how they're going off and when they're going off, and that could start to direct you to where your core value could be. Let's talk about just how to keep them alive because, again, it is just a word unless they are active and we are living by it every single day. How do we keep these values alive in all areas of our life? First and foremost, we need to celebrate them. Right? Celebrate these core values. So if you're in a meeting, if you have a weekly, a monthly team huddle, whatever it is, how are you celebrating these core values? How has somebody exemplified them? And now you are shouting them out, correlating them to goals and decisions. So when you're making decisions, you're having strategy, you're creating goals. How are you putting them through the lens of a core value? So sometimes we'll create goals, we'll have a great strategy, but we don't talk about how it directly relates to one of our values and our mission and our vision. So it just needs to be in a constant conversation. I think that is really where we lack is we just don't talk about them enough and have that direct correlation. So we need to have open discussions about them. And then the last way that we're going to talk about today is just be the example, right? So if I know that, one of our core values is gratitude. If one of our core values at Accompany Suite is gratitude, then how are we, celebrating that? How are we relating those to goals and decisions? Are we having open discussions about gratitude? And then also, how are we being the example? So if I expect everyone else on our team to have a heart of gratitude, how am I exemplifying that myself? If you are just in a place where this is a new conversation for you, what a win. I'm so glad that you're here. Or if you're also in a place where you haven't figured out what your core values are, this is just a list. It's just a place to get started. But I really encourage you, if you have not written down some values for you as an individual, then this would be a really great place to start. So you can then figure out how aligned you are in your community, with your family, and then within your workplace as a whole. But what I love about this is it is never too late to start. So going ahead, start thinking about it, start writing it down, and start having the conversations with your family, with your friends, with your organization, and with yourself. As we are just wrapping up this portion of this professional development, all about core values, guiding principles that we live by, I have this reflection question, um, which I want, just in a moment, I would like everybody to come off mute and let's just have an open discussion about it. But my question is, how does looking at values change some priorities for you in regards to work, family, and friends? So we'll come back to this in just a moment. But I just want you to know as you're thinking about that, we have a lot of additional resources. So this is just the tip of the iceberg, but we dive into this deep. So if you are not sure where to even begin with figuring out what your personal core values are, please call us. Please connect with us on our website. There's a link where you can schedule a meeting with me or another member of our team, and we would love to just help you get started in that process of figuring out what are those core guiding principles that you live by and make decisions through. So please connect with us. We want to help you, but we also have a lot of other resources on our YouTube channel. So please check us out. All right. So we're going to go back to this question. Thank you so much for this joining us in this professional development.